What's up? I'm the Timekeeper, and I'm here to tell you why the bracket system is the best thing to happen to Magic the Gathering. So, what is the bracket system? If you don't perfectly understand the bracket system, or have never even heard of it, this is the Timekeeper's horrible summary of the bracket system. So, the first section we have is Exhibition. Now, this is the new player's first attempts at making a deck, or it's whenever someone is just joking around. Basically, it's baby's first deck, this is amazing. Or it's the master's meme deck. Okay, so the next one we have is Core, which is mostly precons, and really probably most other decks. Because just because you build a deck does not mean it is better than a precon. Thirdly, we have the upgraded section. This is when you know what you're doing. You took a precon and you upgraded it, or you just made your own and you made a pretty good deck. And now we have optimized. This is when you're sweating. You are doing crazy stuff, okay? And then finally, we have the final one, CEDH. Now this is, like, you Googled a list of how to win every time, and you're just dunking on people. And there's a good rule of thumb. If you don't know if you are CDH, then you're not. Okay, so for this next session, I was going to show you this super cool new bracket thing that the community's been using for a while now. I prefer this one. However, as I was making this video, they actually just made a new one. And so they just updated the bracket system, so this is the one that we will be using for the rest of this video. But anyway, the best thing about the Commander bracket system, to me, is the communication, or the newfound shared vocabulary that we all have. Now we actually all have something to say, instead of just sitting down and saying, so how strong do you think your deck is? Before, we really had three categories back in the day. There was Precon, 7, and CEDH. And so it was either if you had a precon, if you had done anything to it, it was a 7, and or if you were more than that, it was CEDH. And so now we actually have things to talk about. We have things to mention, which I think is a lot better. Oh, you have humility. Oh, you have glacial chasm. Okay, I'll switch decks. Or, oh, I'm playing Eldrazi and I have one game changer, but it's ad nauseum and I have no combos. I just have a crazed gambling addiction. We also know that we have some categories to mention. There are a few things that since the bracket system was made, people actually think to mention. There's land destruction, free spells, combos. I don't play those anyway, but cheap tutors, fast mana. Now we just have a few things that it's probably good to mention. Whenever I sit down with people, I really like asking, hey, how long have you been playing this game? Because if they've been playing for 10 years versus a month, I'm probably going to choose my decks differently. And then also, I like to ask, if everything went perfectly for your deck, what's the fastest you could win? And it's funny enough, while I was making this video, Gavin released a video saying pretty much the exact same thing. They added to the Commander bracket discussion here what average turn things should start to end on. I wish I would have made this first, because then I could have claimed credit, but he got me there. But overall, now that we have this communication and shared vocabulary, now all of the decks are close-ish in the same bracket. You have the second thing that makes this work, that I'll talk about in a second, where if you're 1v1ing someone, normally the better deck is going to win most of the time. However, if you're in a multiplayer setting, we're going to jump you. We're going to steal your knees away! Are you ever playing Magic and you think everything's going just dandy, but then someone starts bashing your faces in, you start to cry, and you need help? Well, do I have the thing for you? The arch enemy effect, the thing that helps balance out a multiplayer setting. The arch enemy effect helps different power levels to play against each other. There might be a wide variety of what optimized means. However, if three people are working together against one person who is doing better, they can balance out the game. I would say that can go for different levels of power level completely. For example, if there's three threes playing against one four, if they team up on him, they might still have a chance to win. The first way this works at lower power levels is throwing hands. The attack step is very important to these power levels. At bracket levels 1 through 4, if everyone jumps you, it's difficult to win. It's very important for the archenemy effect for brackets 1 through 4. It's mainly 1 through 3, but it can also impact 4 sometimes. Now, if you're a little wimp and you don't attack until you can one-shot someone at these levels, now the best deck is probably just going to win. But if we are yeeting dudes at the guy who's winning and we make him lose resources on each of those attempts, 3 people are just going to have more stuff to do than 1 guy over time. Now, if they attack one of us, it's okay to double block and lose some stuff if it slows that crazed hooligan down who's ahead. And now there's the second part of archenemy. You see, this is what I like to call laser beams, where at higher power levels like 4 and 5, the attack step is not always as relevant. However, interaction is always relevant. Now, this is more important up higher because attacking isn't as much of a thing, but hopefully you're going to at least run some removal everywhere. But at lower brackets, you can just yeet a creature at them. At higher brackets, sometimes you have to targeted destruction or counterspell to stop someone from winning very quickly. At lower brackets, of course, the best removal is player removal. Up top, counterspells reign supreme. And if you use them against someone who's winning, you can really help slow them down so that someone else has a chance to win. In my playgroups, I am that guy, but not in a good way. My decks are stronger than most of my friends are. And so whenever I'm playing with my friends or with randoms, I really like what I call un-counterpicking. Now, you've heard of counterpicking before, which is where someone might describe their deck to you, and so you choose a deck to counter it and to win. Un-counterpicking is where I realize that I might have a deck I want to play, but whenever my opponent tells me about their deck, I realize I need to pull out one of my less powerful decks instead. If someone is new, I don't need to crush them with my amazing 36 extra turns and watch them weep their tears. Instead, I'll use that against the guy who taught me to play the game in the first place. But whenever I'm playing with random people, I like to uncounterpick, which is where I choose a less powerful deck so that we don't pub stomp people. So what are the possible downsides of the commander bracket system? Well, the main one that I've seen is, well, my deck is technically a 1. Because you know what you're doing. Just because you have no game changers doesn't mean it's a theme deck. I can make a 4 with no game changers, but that doesn't make it a 1. 1s are basically intentionally trash, and by that I mean suboptimal. The new system has much more defined thematic things that I think are very helpful with dealing with this issue. However, another thing that I would actually love to see is I think things like this could be extremely useful in other formats. If people don't just want to play try-hard shenanigans. What if you want to play a modern deck that isn't just the best? I might try more 60-card formats if we didn't have to just play the metagame exclusively. But all in all, I've been the Timekeeper. I'm new here, so subscribe so I can be motivated to make more stuff. And I'll see you next time.